Yes, 13 days into the year 2023. Budde no budduka. Kirole kinneesimbyemu. Oba nze ekyensimbyemu. Kikyannemye okuyisa. Morning, Nathan. Hope you're doing well. Hope you guys are doing good. Good morning, Seth. It's a dark morning. Morning, Ragnar. Yeah. So 13 days. That's a Pajero GDI. My muchara has changed her mind. Mutacha agala Ralph kati agala Pajero GDI. I'm thinking for it. Because the GDI has troubles. She knows the troubles, but that car speaks class. So I gotta have cardio okay. So I'm actually thinking for it. You know, when you buy that particular car, you need to have a budget for changing the engine anytime. So when you buy that particular car, it will break down at one time. So that's one thing you need to be sure of. And when it breaks down, you will find that good morning, Chris Da Vinci. Good morning, Martha. Good morning, Eddie. Yeah. So that Pajero GDI, it's a very comfortable car, very classy. Good morning, Kenneth. It's an SUV. It's a different car. It's not something that people would say it's cheap. But if you can see that car, mukaraba kaina yono mukka. You see that car, it even has a smoke. It has smoke coming out, and that's not mist. That's smoke, because there is mist and there is smoke. Nekano, that is not mist. That is smoke. Mist means healthy engine. Smoke means something is wrong. The black smoke is normally fuel. It's not burning fuel properly, so the spark plugs are not good and all that. If it's white smoke, it basically means the engine burns oil. But that's white smoke though. Nenga akamoro kaku kalungi. Ogulaba omukka gwa white gyokoma okulinnya gye gukoma okweyongera. Yeah. And then we have this is Solomon's Corsa. Yeah. This is what they call the Corsa Super. Japanese, the Toyota guys, they make a car, then they make a super version of it, and that super version will always be sold at a very high price. The owner will tell you from Manyira Garcia Buroro sajaba taxi ajja avugira ebbali naye nga ayagala gwate omuviiri nga gwali mu kituufu. So that Corsa is a very nice car, but it has the same engine as the Toyota Raum, and the Toyota Raum omulaba bwayikiriza omusajja wa Corsa bannange. Corsa azimbye buzimbye mutima. Yeah, so 13 days into 2023, what have you done? What have you planned? Are you sure you can achieve what you're planning? Sometimes goals are good, but big goals, you need to break them down into smaller bits. If you have a goal of like 20 million, break it down into 1 million or 500k. So you are looking for trouble before it comes your way. No, I know what to do for that car. So when I buy that Pajero, I'll have a budget of about 3 million aside. So I have to buy it very cheaply. That's one thing you need to understand. Akakamoro kabwe naba wakagula nyina kagula layisi nnyonnyo ka Pajero. Naye nga nkagula layisi nsobola okubeerawo ne ssente za engine ne gearbox ebya Toyota. This is normally what I tell you. So but I know one thing I've studied about you, my followers, you guys don't want to put in that kind of work. It might be too much for you. But personally, I'll buy that Pajero, but I'll buy it cheaply, and I'll have money reserved aside for a new. Which supermarket? So I'll have money aside, but it's too late. Why don't you buy from their side? I'll have money aside for an engine and a gearbox and a computer and a chiwaya. Yeah. So basically what you do with that Pajero is when you buy it, you know trouble will come. So you have insurance. And insurance will basically be good morning, Nicole. Yeah, good morning, Salmin. For me, insurance will be my money for the engine, and I know where I'm going to get the engine. So I'll buy the Pajero for her. When it starts disturbing us, we put the entire engine and gearbox out. We put the okay, I've just gotten an alert. I cannot read it now, but I think it's good. I'll share with you tomorrow. So one of my followers has shared, but it will be a good tip. I'll share with it probably in the video I'm going to do today and even tomorrow. So because jayagala atakati mukolerechi abasajja tulina kuwa bakyala kati bwaba jayagala omukolerechi ng'ogigula, but as long as she knows the consequence. But of course, when you're changing the engine, I have to remind you, you'll need to go to URA Steel, get even the details checked out. Yes, you can put a Toyota engine in a Mitsubishi to get main road to get it by 723. Huh? Okay. So Arthur, it's possible to buy a car of a different make and put it. Yes, it is. All you have to do is go to URA and apply for change of engine. So they will change an engine number and all. You drive a Mitsubishi with a Toyota engine, and a card you some your engine number because an engine is a part. An engine is a part like tires and all that. It can be changed, but you have to make sure that you go to URA and get the parts changed, so that in the card it reads that the engine number that you have there, right? Because if you do that without URA clearance, never kwata muchiddo. Yes, Benz C200 with Primo engine, is it possible? Yes, it is, but not Primo engine though. With the Benz, they normally put Mark II because the engine in the Mercedes Benz is longitudinal. You know, we say network emanyo kuntawanya. But anyway, normally the Benz they'll put a Mark II engine over ya nowhere again, but normally with the Mercedes Benz they will put Mark II engine because the Mercedes Benz the engine is longitudinal, even the Mark II engine is longitudinal. Because ekiteke samu engine ya Mark II, it's because the skira mabega and the Mark II skira mabega. So that's the Primo engine cannot go there, but it will still be okay. It will still be okay. So take a because when you change an engine, you will change the gearbox, you will change the computer, you will change the chiwaya, you will change the gear lever. So I've seen Mercedes Benz with gear levers of Toyota. The only trouble those guys do is that they don't go change those particulars in the logbook. So as a center, you know, so I think you pay about 300,000 to get the particulars changed at URA. Yeah, and that's what you do. GDI again, I'm engineer Toyota Chinua and Mark II. You can put Noah engine, no, and Mark II engine. My mechanic is a pro at that. Chovola wanze magajidi ingenda jigula sijitya. Zetekawo sente zikyusa ebintu. Kitegeera. And some people abavuga big horns. Some people abavuga Terrano, because those are some of the problematic cars. That's what they do. They buy that Terrano engine bwefanga jamu byonna ngatuzamu ebyatunuwa. Right? Even some people that drive those the old Pajeros, you remember those old Pajeros? Bwe mutawanyanga jamu byonna ngateeka munuwa. Good morning Tumbu. So GDI yegenda mweyo. Baba kanika babiyiya lwakuba waliwo ababiyiya obubi ate ne bonoonyi okitegeera. So I hope you guys are doing well. Yesterday we had a very, very hectic day. But we finally got a car. So I'll share this story because it's important for us to know the people that are going to buy cars in the next coming months. So as I talk about Toyota Yaris, the Toyota Yaris is the Vitz. So that's all you need to know. The Yaris is the Vitz. It just happens that when Toyota makes cars for different continents, it gives them different names. So I think the Toyota Yaris was made for the European market, and it was given the name Yaris. But the Yaris in the UK is the Vitz in Japan. And for us, because we import most of our cars from Japan, that's why you'll find that we have the Vitz. But I've seen people that have the Yaris here. Yeah. Yeah. Yaris, even Clavis. So you'll find that they have different names in different continents. You'll find the Vitz in the US being called something else, but it's a Vitz. Just the way I was telling you guys yesterday that the Mitsubishi RVR is the same as Mitsubishi Outlander. Is it the Nissan? The Outlander is the same as the RVR. You get, it's just that they make these cars for different markets, and that's how they give them different names. Yeah. So the Yaris is the Vitz. It's just the Corolla that normally maintains the name Corolla wherever you find it. But even then, they'll have different names for Corolla. Let's say Primo. You can find the Primo in another continent being given in a different name. Gatibajita Primo. And you'll even be surprised. You get it? But that's how they do it. That's how Toyota does it. Like you'll find, like here for us, I think there are cars that have maintained their names, like the Toyota Hiace drone, Toyota drone, but the Hiace has the same name all over. You can find it in the US, Toyota Hiace. Yeah. And there are guys that want to invest in lorries. Your lorry can invest, but you'll find that you're going to buy it like 130 million. At 130, you can build apartments now in Obera safe. Apartment is Kabenje, apartment is Bayingini, apartment right? So there are so many things that can happen with this lorry. But if you're the kind of person that is not scared of risks, that could be a car that could be a business that actually makes a lot of. Because these are lorries, you see those ones, they are parked. And I think they have been parked, and Katibazi Tunda, by the way. But they have been parked there for the past 2 years, I think. It could be more, because I moved to Matunga like in 2021. That's why I say the past 2 years, because from the time I moved to Matunga, those lorries, those trailers have been parked there. Guy, you see that guy? Me, I can't be that bold. There's a time I rode a bicycle to town and I swore never to come back. Because it's risky, but those guys can actually ride a bicycle uphill and even think that he's going downhill. Yeah. So, but I hope you guys are doing well on this 13th day of 2023. Yeah. It might either be easy or hard for you depending on which position you're standing at. Yeah, but one or another we keep moving. You need to keep moving to power. And most of the times, if a year starts when it's hard for you, that might be a good sign. It doesn't mean that when it starts when it's easy for you, it will be hard. But when it's hard for you, it might. I'm using the word might. It might actually be a good year in the end. Why? Because you develop a thick skin, and you become ready for whatever will come. So our title for the video today, Dennis Yako. Yeah, I tell you yesterday he didn't work. I think that's why he's not here. But if he was here, he would share the story yesterday. So the story yesterday is we went to the field. Of course, in Zakasente Kanginabade Kafunya, but that camp we saw get a cassette kangemujalo Uganda college banja. Answer to the cassette kange bulungi. We set off late because my mechanic is sick. Sidimu way to say. Dennis is here. Would you like to share? You can also share bits of the story. It was a challenging day. There's a time I reached Nendabanga Dennis akoye ngabimutamye. So we went to the field. Initially he had wanted to buy an Oppa. I don't know if you know those cars, the Oppas. And the Oppa is a rare car. And for starters, most of the Oppas have the same engine with there's an engine that is found in Nuas. So ojasanga Oppa nga kamoroka katone ngati munkusisi 200. But the first person that had told him there's an Oppa, we reached it ngeri ku Chebwa iserimba temi. And the moment we are going to Chebwa is nababuzize moroka tugenda mbatemi. So for me, the instinct when they tell me to genda ku Chebwa is moroka weri, my instinct tells me that moroka twins okuba tugenda gendo gule moroka. Naye nge moroka oli bagimuletera yagisubula kugitema n'agiraba ng'esobola okutundibwa. And that's exactly what happened. So we went to Chebwa Ise, and the first Oppa we saw, yabadde nga erimu n'ekigo. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, erimu ekigo. Nga it fell flat on the roof. Of course they repaired it, kati abono aseleni nambono wa characters. Because this road is supposed to be a 3-lane. Na yaseleni namba. Tebamanyi moroka bano. Nino wakalina ne yabadde tamanyi byakola. So and the engine also didn't sound very healthy. So this one also had the engine, the same engine like the Primo. You know the Primo new model. Yeah. And that one because it had a nganebo ogula buy and drive. There are cars that will just kill your money, and that was that Oppa. But Dennis, you can disagree with me. I'm open for you to tell me what you thought. It would be a very nice thing for us to share. Like, what did you think about that particular car, so that these guys also get to know. And then, but to have the Kwayo Oppa, we drove. I think we first went to Chisasi, I think, to see there's a Ipsam that we saw. We saw the Ipsam, and this particular Ipsam, I think the one thing that Dennis did not like in particular was the interior. It wasn't a very smart interior. And I think the owner did not wash that much. And I think, Dennis, when you saw the owner later on in the evening, you know why that Ipsam looked the way it looked. You get it? I don't think that person really cared for the car. So Dennis did not really like the interior. So we did the math. It needed seat covers. It needed new door panels. Overall, the car wasn't bad. It had a very good engine. Of all the engines we saw yesterday, that Ipsam had a very good engine. But then we left it. We went to, because Dennis had rounded up some guys that said they had Oppas, and he really liked the Oppa. So we went to Machinge to see Oppas, but there was one Oppa. There were no, all these guys I think had posted Oppas to pull clients. You know what the Machinge guys do? They post a car, they post it very affordable, and to pull you, to make sure you come close. So this particular Oppa that we saw was very good. Very good. Of course, the engine, it had a very smart interior, very nice body. It didn't have tires, but it was overall, it was a very nice car. I liked it. I think I could drive it as well, but not at the price they were selling it though. So I think when he saw it online, the person that posted it had said 7.5, and when we reached the ground, the seller was selling it, had said 10 million, then 9.5, then the very last offer was 9 million, which was way over our budget. And it was a good car, but I personally thought that it wasn't worth that money. Speaking, personally, I would not drive it for that money, however good it was, because for starters, it did not have tires. Also, Yabademo Kabanda, it was in a used car bond, and I find that those guys won't get sente nyingi. Ujajisanga, that person was selling it at 9, naenga ajisubura million inga mukaga. But one thing I realized, and I told this to Dennis, that those guys are Bobanda. What they do is they buy cars and put in the work that you, my followers, don't want to put in. You get, and I'm going to tell you shortly what I mean by that. So, but it was good. Yabade chaunya no kuvugibwa. You know, emoroka jibabade bavuga. Akawo ebo widamo buobo muntu yade ajivuga. So it even still smelled that it was. Bale kababade bajipakinze we mwezi nga kumwe ebidi esatu. And the reason why it was there is because of the pricing. Bajisera. So we asked these guys, are there any other Oppas in Machinge? And there were none. So and so we drove away and we went. I think when we drove, it was Zewa. Twala Zewa banange. Ngasijukira it was Zewa. But I think there is a time we went to Waise to laba Nadia. Okay? But the Nadia, that Nadia, it had a very good number plate. You had a plate nunji, interior yabade nunji na inga body ringe nkube emiko. And my mechanic was saying it tujina jigula million satu chitundu. You get. Nenge ra yabade mbi. Already ngangololenga. The moment you buy it, you take it to the paint shop. Nebatanikira okuji painting ayo. Very late today. Ochitegeera. It's 7:38. So the nenjigoba najigobe nayenga boboji kuzenga satu chitundu. Ochitegeera boboji kuzenga satu chitundu, it makes sense. Nojikwatire emitwalo nga 7 ne bagifuwa ne bagiza ku muzuri. Ochitegeera, but it didn't have tires. I think it also needed the windscreen and all. But majority of the time, if you're going to buy a car that is whatever to agura motoka ya million 10 ngirenda bila mtu inoji replacing, you get it? If you're going to buy a car that is not in the bond, most of the time there are things that we expect, like a cracked windscreen, because there are people that drive their cars with their cracked windscreens and they don't care. Good morning, Ivan. So so the Nadia ne tujigoba, and we were a little stuck. Then Nebatulaga Primo. The Primo didn't have a very good engine as well. It had a very good clean interior. It was also buy and drive. The tires were deco, but then this person was, the Primo was 7.5. It was, I think, by UAJ. It had a 2000cc engine, the one the one that is in the Ipsum, and I find that it was a little overpriced. I think it could broker yabadori yogeda. Nga bwakubolwali nayongeza music ufa tukibakulizamu radio. So and we were there still thinking, okay, what car do we buy? Because emoroka zibuze, that's a fact. Emoroka zo zibuze. Then nebatulaga chibina. Nebatulaga chibina, banange chibina yabadde nungi. You know those Toyota Corona chibinas? The chibina was almost perfect. It had of all the cars we had seen that day, the Chibina had an engine that was as good as the Ipsum we saw in the morning. It had all 4 tires were new, no windscreen to replace. The interior was very clean. Of course, the door panels of the Chivina are not so nice. Even the boot was intact. The Chivina had a screen radio, these Android radios, had a woofer. Basically, this person wasn't really selling, but you know how brokers can be. The broker said he promised to get him a car if he sold the Chivina to us. But then he said nange sina jengenda muguza naye njagala kulya ka sente lwaleero kabaguzemo. And then but the Chivina guy was selling 6.8. The Chivina was because he started at 7.5 and then we bargain. He stopped at, should I stop here? You're going to get what you want. So he was selling, he ended at 6.8. But you have money? Okay. No. I have a car. Please. Dennis doesn't like the Chivina, so I asked him, do you really like the Chivina? For privacy. Yeah. So so Dennis did not like the Chivina, so I asked him, hey, Dennis, do you like this Chivina? And he did not really like it. I think anaka bei karimu waguru, but the Chivina was a buy and drive. You yabade, you know how you find a kanga, the person drives their car every day. Even it was even in his names. So basically, it basically this car was it was something that was drivable. Although I would have preferred that it was a little lower, but it was perfect. We did not even drive it because Dennis doesn't like the Chivina. So, and then we were a little stuck there. And because we don't want to go looking at bad cars. But then my mechanic lives in Gayaza. He said there is a Nadia I see in Gayaza. It looks really nice. Let's go look at it. So, but I also called some people that I know in Gayaza that know where cars would be, and all of them were saying, "Emoroka zetu ine nozo nambi, tojja emoroka nungi zona ziri mu million 10." But because my mechanic said there was a Nadia that had a kapande for sale, and normally I actually told him, "Emoroka eziriko bupande for sale, ngazitera okuba n'ebizibu." But he said, "Emoroka engeri gyerabika etekwa kuba nnungi. Let's go." And when we got to this Nadia, it was nice. It had a very clean interior. The body paint was original, no accident history. However, it didn't have tires. Of course, it needed the windscreen as well. And the mosaic came. Why he said, Dennis, what did he say was his last price? He said, I think initially he said 8 million. And then we bargained, he said 7 million. Then we started the car, the engine, it didn't have tires as well, but overall the car looked really nice. So then we drove away, and then the mosaic kept calling us. Nozanga yetaga sente na akube simu njagala million mukaga naye obuzibu ba broker bajja kwaga ntumugafe tutwagala sente za ba broker na akoma million mukaga. Is it my internet or actually wo safe today chiri wo? After, why is it when I try to purchase on this to purchase on this YouTube, it's giving me an error? Is it in YouTube channel settings? I think I'm going to try and check it out. So but this Nadia was nice. So we drive back ngatuva ku Nadia, mzee nga bwatukubira mzee really needs the money, you get. And I think he had sold it for some time ngano upande bwa for sale putandisa okuoneka, and he washes it every day. So we drive from all the way from Gayaza, and we get to Kasangati, and then the mosaic keeps calling, and then Dennis says, let me say like I gotta say it. And Dennis had like the Nadia. I personally had like the Nadia myself. And then we did the math, and this Nadia really didn't look to have a lot of work. But the mosaic had refused to sell at 6 million. He wanted 6 million. So we drive back. We actually go to the bank and get the money. So we drive back, we go to the Nadia. And Muzeyi ne bayita makanika. Neba mutwale eyo. And Muzeyi had a daughter. I did not see the daughter, but the mechanic says daughter chitemeka. So they go there, and the mechanic says when he got there, the daughter was selling 6.5. The car belonged to the daughter, but she was selling 6.5. Blah blah blah. They get, and then for us, because our mind was set at 6 million. This car was really nice. It looked really nice. I didn't take pictures. I don't know why, I forgot. It had a very nice body, original body. The interior was really nice. And so, as the mechanic is there doing whatever he was doing, we sit in the Nadia because he had taken my key. So we sit in the Nadia. Then he sits on the passenger side. You know there is a glove box here. So the glove box opens, and it refuses to close. So we try to fix it, and we find that the computer is outside there. The wires are there. Nazo bazitetenkanya nnyo. And I tell Dennis, nene moroka tebaji ya nyolowooza. You get it? And I tell him, moroka eno yinza okuba baji ya nnyo nga kyekigiremezaawo, baleta ekisuubizo tusooke tuvugemu. So eventually they come. Netugafika tuvuge mu moroka. And you know Muzeyi was saying mutekemu emitwalo 2 egy'amafuta. I knew probably agatekemu 2 bwe tuvugamu tetuyinza vuga mitwalo egyo 2 bwe tuba tetugiguze. I told them soko tekemu omutwalo. So we put our 10k, and the petrol station was nearby there. We just crossed the road to put. And the moment we get to the petrol station, ngapuli the motoka ye pipira. Enimwa kapipira. When you start it in one place, it doesn't have that thing. But when you drive, it has it. And I tell the mechanic, "Gwe, emotoka eno ngapulire erimu akantu. Ine ekintu ekitali kituufu. Of course wabaddewo obukone mabega, but those are okay. But mwabaddemu akantu akapipira akatali nnomo." And when the mechanic got out, ba amafuta amakalu. Okitegeera. Na no ne bwogirinya bw'otereta kick down. Emotoka eyo nga bagitetenkanya nnyo nga system y'amafuta nga bagiyiiya. Okitegeera. So I'm thinking, so it's possible that the fuel system disturbed them and they failed to actually repair it, and that's why they are selling the car. And it would need to redo all the wiring, which and normally the cost for wiring is not, you cannot say that it's going to cost this much. We guessed it would cost like 400,000, you get. But me, I wouldn't guarantee. The best thing would be for that car would be to actually buy a full wire. You know that wire that comes from the computer, then it goes to the engine, then it goes to the gearbox, then it comes to the dashboard here, then it goes all the way behind. There is that big wire. So the solution would actually be to just buy that entire thing and put it in there. But then there are chances that even the computer that was in that car was not for that particular car. You get it? And for me, emotoka z'okutetenkanya sizaagala. Good morning, Maria. You get? So ideally a mechanic would tell you tujigule. But emotoka eyo osobola okugidondola. And you drive it, when you're driving it from that place nekwata omuliro. Because why is a computer ebatukira okuyiya computer neba nga sinsibeyo. Kitegeza they fix the car netuuka nebatama. You get? That's what it looked like. Because the computer was down there, nga nekana akantu ka groove box bakamenya. You get? So omutima nze gwagiganye Nadia. And normally I don't want, because you can buy a car when you know that this is the problem, this is the problem. If I go sign it, this is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem. You get it? But you know, with cars that have wiring issues, it's very hard for you to actually determine that, okay, this is the concrete, this is the concrete problem. It might be very hard for you to actually point on that problem and you say, okay, the problem is the computer. Because you might say the problem is the computer and you go buy a computer at 400,000, for example, you put a computer and then you buy the full wire. You get morning message. And I want him to share. Dennis, you type something, you kill this guy's curiosity. Yet they are very curious to find out what went on. So so what happened is because there was no way I was going to guarantee the cost of that repair, and yeah, me, I'm not the kind of person that leaves things to chance. So I did not want to leave it to chance, and the mechanic agreed as well. So you need to value. And then as we were driving, we went back to the Ipsam because the Ipsam seemed to be a very good offer. But the Ipsam guy was also saying 6 million. And I'm going to tell you something that I really liked yesterday. So so we went back to the Ipsam. When we reached the Ipsam, we also drove it. Now when we drove the Ipsam, and I think if the mechanic is actually watching, he should actually fix that steering thing, that the lock. I'm going to call him. So the steering was locked properly, but then when I unlocked to adjust it, it refused to lock again. And then of course the boot was shaking. The Ipsam had 2 new tires, so we were going to repair. We were going to replace 2 tires. It had a windscreen to repair, to replace. The body was okay, and also the interior wasn't. The interior was the biggest problem actually. Then it also had I found that the brakes were not very good personally for me. You get, and then and when I told the mechanic, and I told him, but that's how the brakes are supposed to work. Anyway, so we go back to the Ipsam, we drive, and when we drive around, because about the police receipts of 270. So when we drive around, I tell Solomon, this guy needs to reduce money. But and then Solomon finds a man he knows. The Ipsam we bought for Brian, the man that owned that particular Ipsam. So we find him, and Solomon gets out. I tell him, you know what, get out of the car, let's first talk with Dennis. So when we stayed with Dennis, I asked him, what do you think about the Ipsam? I think Dennis was still locked with the Nadia because the Nadia had a perfect interior and body. You get, and he said, you know what, Arthur, let's buy it 5.5. And what amazed me is that he could actually he stuck to his word and said tugula tano chitondo bwaba takwata million tano n'ekitundu and we okay, mommy is coming, mommy is there. So so what happened is he stuck to his guns and said moroka tugenda jigula tano kitundu wabata zikwata fe tugenze. And then we drove away and we decided to look for a car another day. But then the place where we first went to see an Oppa, they called and they said they had Ipsams in that bond.
Yes, I had it.
It's used car bond still. So we said, let's go look at those cars. We might even find that they are better than this Ipsam. So we go to that place. There were 3 Ipsams. Remember this Ipsam that we bought, I think it's a UAM or UAN. So we go to that place. They have a UAP, they have a UHU, they have a UAR. All those numbers are better than this number. But they stuck to the UAP, which was blue. And it looked okay. Okay, the body looked okay, the interior was washed. You know how those guys, I've told you before. Those guys wash. Bobo was a Moroka, Nebajifako. And what they did, funny, the broker came na yongeza music. Yongeza music, it had one speaker working. Nakate mugamba temuli radio na yongereza dala. The engine was also okay. It didn't have 4 tires. It also needed a windscreen replaced. But the body was fairly okay. Because what those brokers do when they buy their cars,
Wait for me.
you take him. I think he's badly off. Take him. Abana, are you badly off?
That's the minute.
What mommy broke.
It's from what?
From the bottle.
Okay, you keep it for her. So so we went to this bond and we checked. This Ipsam was good, but you know normally what I do is I do the math for you. And remember, one of the reasons why Dennis was refusing the other Ipsam was that it had a lot of, we were going to spend a lot of money in making it better. But when we got to this Ipsam, the exact amount we had calculated for the Ipsam was the exact amount we were spending on this Ipsam here. But this Ipsam was also I think the guys has had 6.5. But I did not like this one. First of all, it was blue or purple or blue. I think it was blue. Blue is a very bad color. You get people, for you to sell a blue color, a blue car, let it even be a Harrier. For you to have a blue Harrier, yet Harrier is a hot cake. You would find you would look for someone to buy a blue Harrier and you won't find. Even if it's an Alex, even if it's an IST, a blue car doesn't basically sit well with people that want to buy cars. And it wasn't a super, you know, a motorcade was really super. What is interesting, I had forgotten, the Ipsum I'm talking about, the first one we saw, had more than 400,000 kilometers on the clock. My God, is the first car that I've seen that has that much mileage. 400,000 kilometers. Mine is big, but I think mine has 250,000 kilometers. It means this Ipsum moves. And I was surprised how this car had a very clean engine. It was clean, and it sounded very new. You get. So we looked at this Ipsum, the UAP. It was the best in the. Guys, excuse me just a minute. I'm back, guys. Omukiga abadde kukola susu nga biganye biganye okubisiba. Anyway, so nkomyewa Dennis, come, let's share the story together. Obo chako chali mu shock. So we went ahead and looked at the other two Ipsums because they looked better on they are white and they looked better on the exterior. So we went and saw you first saw the UAR, and the interior was terrible, worse than the other Ipsum that we saw before. Then we went and saw the UHU. It was also worse. And they are kind of overpriced. But nange you're trying to recall Sibanga Nimba. So normally this is the hardest part of pre-purchase inspection. It's trying to tell it's telling someone that the car that you don't really like is actually better than these other cars that you might actually like, because people like cars depending on they depend on so many other things to decide that the car is better than the others. Normally it would be the number plate, it would be the interior. From my experience, from you guys, normally the interior does a very big effect. Okay, it's normally the interior does a very big job on convincing you that a car is nice, and sometimes even the number plate, which is okay, but sometimes you have to forget about some of these things. So when we looked at all these cars, actually the UAP had been better, but it was blue. It was not a super. and the amount of money we are going to spend on it is the same amount we were going to spend on the other IPSAM. This is the hardest part, is me telling Dennis that, do you know what, Dennis, of all the things that we have looked at, the other IPSAM is actually better than all these cars that we have seen, and if we can bargain, it would be a better option to buy the other IPSAM. So we did the math, and then I think the mechanic was getting a little agitated. Yazaga manze simanyi bye musalawo na yenze mukulaba okwange, and you remember he's sick. Kulaba okwange eri moroke esinga zino zonna biki you get. I agreed with him. Why? The math worked out. You know, there is sometimes that you can do the math and it totally makes sense. You get it? Now let me try to do the math for you guys. Arthur, please re-answer the question of changing the IPSAM with the VVTI engine. No, don't even think about it. Just increase your budget and buy a car with a VVTI engine. But there is an IPSAM with a VVTI engine, but it's not worth it. The IPSAM Picnic is a VVTI engine, but it's a 2.4cc. So you'll be driving that IPSAM, but that IPSAM will be Jakuba 2.4, Jakuba ngavuga kawundo. It's not totally worth it. So don't think about changing the IPSAM with the VVTI engine. That's not worth it. The cost will be too much. Totally not worth it. Because the people that buy IPSAMs, they know which engine should be there. So ojakujja mugambe ngojogerera nnyo, I put a VVTI engine nga yeta bitegeera. And it might actually lose power. So what happened, I think from there on we started bargaining. Normally I personally don't make this because I like to bargain when I'm on the ground. And I think it ended at 5.6 with the other IPSAM, the one we saw first. Now, as I speak at that time, it's around 5:30. So we drive back to the IPSAM. And when we were driving back to the IPSAM, you know, we found the IPSAM with the garage, with the mechanic, the owner's mechanic. And when we make the call, the mechanic is saying, the motor can design. And then we say, okay, let's meet halfway, and then we finish the transaction. Now, this is the funny story, and probably Dennis, you did not know this part. I'm going to share at the end. So as we go, the story is that the person who owned this car actually didn't really own the car. You know, we were buying the car 5.6, but the person who owned the car owed someone 4 million. You get? So in actual sense, the person who was selling the car to us at 5.6 was only getting 1.5 according to our knowledge, which was funny, because he did not really own the car. Get? And I think that's why he was trying to sell the car 6 million for him to get money. But that wasn't really the entire story. So we get to the car. They bring the logbook, we do our inspection, we do our verification, and then we find out the logbook they gave us was wrong. You get it? I think, Joseph, it's on your end. So they bring a logbook, but the logbook was wrong. When we verified with URA, the car was in different names from the logbook. I think this person was given a logbook that was really old, like an owner that owned the car like over how many years ago. But because he did not do the verification, that's why he did not know. So we get the names of the person who is in the logbook now, and I call him, and I say, Mzee, I want to come and do do transfer. The person is selling this car to me. And then he tells me, na transfer which is okay. That's normally what it's by chance that you find someone that actually doesn't ask you for money. You get it? So which is, for me, I find it's okay, because even me, if you are to buy a car from someone else and you're not buying exactly from me, and you want me to do transfer for you, I'll also ask for you for 100,000, sometimes even more. Because normally even the person that you're calling also called someone and they also paid 100K to transfer to their names. So with that was okay. So Dennis gets the money, gives the mechanic to go, because he had so many people that were taking money. You get it? So I think this is where the story gets interesting. We signed the agreement. The agreement has 5.6. We even give them the money. They count the money. I think the other people took their 1.5, and then they took over 1 point. Someone took 1.5, and then these guys, there was a guy called Mpima. He took 4.5, and then they gave this 1 million. Then this guy comes to the agreement, and then he sees 5.6, and he says, "You men, why are you writing 5.6?" And I tell him, the million. So why are you telling us why we're writing 5.6? Isn't it the money we have paid? He says, no. And then for me, because I don't want things that give me headache, I tell him, you know what, you man, if this is not the money you have sold the car, let's leave the car. You give us back our money and we go. You get it? And then he goes to his people. Because initially for us, we knew only the mechanic. But then there were 2 other men that came, and I knew them. They are brokers. So I think these brokers put their money there. Which take it, the 500K, because according to him, he was selling 5.1. You get it? And then when I was saying, if this is not the money you have sold to us, give us back our money and we go. Then these brokers were trying to calm this person down. Which take it, and then they took him aside, and then they told me, now we kakana bichi. And I knew this particular guy, he's a broker. I think I saw him in Bakuli, those bonds in Bakuli. And then he's the one that had the logbook, that bad logbook, the logbook that wasn't good. And I think one of the reasons why they made sure that car is sold there and then was because now we had realized that the logbook wasn't actually real, the logbook they had. They were actually trying to hide it from us. You get it? But I made sure that Dennis keeps the logbook. Dennis, I hope you have that logbook. But already for us, we did not need that logbook, because we had talked to the person who is in the logbook, and he said he was going to transfer for us. And I actually think, Dennis, we should go see that man when you have some time. To get there to Mwekumeje at Fulumize transfer forms. They are normally valid for like over 28 days. And then it can be cheaper. So what we'll do, we go give that person the 100,000 he likes at your transfer forms. We can do those things. We can try to do them quickly to be equally. But what those transfer forms, at when I just want a copy of his ID, I signing to get a ID yo, netin yo to be, because we have to go with your team. Then to get there, and then we take those papers to Sasule, because in the bank you'll pay, I think, 85K. You pay the 85K, and then we can take those papers to you ourselves. Because ideally we will normally pay over. This would actually be a better option. When we go to talk to that man, we give him like 200,000 for Tumugambe Fikatulinde Morokango Jiziza Manyagafi. Which take it, right? It might, because I realize that guy might actually be part of a bond. Broker. So it would be a better thing for to sound to tell you how to take more effort. We can bargain and give him probably 180. Transfer, and then they just transfer it to your name. So that would be a better option. Yeah. Anyway, after paying this guy that was selling, complaining, and we told him, and then because we had already paid, he had already signed the agreement. We already knew who was in the logbook. You get it? And then he said, hey, I did not know that he even need to do verification. Because I think for him, when he bought this car, and I don't think he even got suspicious when he was trying to buy third party, to find out that this third party is in a different name than what he has in the logbook. You get? And this is something that needs to be verified always. But for us, we verified. Anyway, that aside, so I told Dennis Omanyi, so he sat in my cafe, and then the mechanic na to go there. n'atugoberera from behind, and then I think we met somewhere where amugulidde amafuta nze ne bandeka awo, and then I went to go home because remember I live far away. Neneyongerayo. But it was overall, it was a hectic day. Nina we natusenga ndaba Dennis bimutamye. Ngabimutamye, and then he said Arthur tosobola kujja tugule moroka ku Sunday. But Sunday is tricky, guys. Buying a car on Sunday, even the options are not too many, because some people that have cars basivuga ne bagenda ku beach, ne bagenda mu byalo. So buying a car on a Sunday is a very tricky thing. You can get, but it's a very tricky thing. Always I recommend that you buy a car during the week. It's always better to buy the car during the week. There you can have a lot of options. And also what I normally when we work a police so normally what I find that if you're looking for a car and you spend 2 days looking for a car, not afuna moroka joyagala, you should then wait for a month, come back next month. You get it? Why? Because a car you cannot see in 2 days, you may not be able to see in 3 days. Because normally if you don't get a car in 2 days, then the problem might actually be the choice of cars you have. Because you should understand that if you had stuck to the upper, zona ziyali arabe in the price range that he thought, zaite ziri iyo. Actually the upper that we saw that was in the price range that we had planned was an accident car. Even the engine wasn't very good. And the one that we saw that was good, that I would recommend that he buys, atenga bagiseera nnyo. Okitegeera million mwenda. Of which at 9 million, I personally find that you can get a car that is better than that one. At 9 million, you can get a 1.3 cc or even 1.0 cc car that would save you more fuel. And when it comes to saving, because you see how we are looking for the Oppa and we don't see it. Trust me, it's very few people that actually are looking for Oppas, because that Oppa was in almost perfect state. And for it to be packed in that bond, because when you look at the cars that it was packed in, it was either 2000cc or rare cars like Suzuki Alto, those cars that people don't really like. And it was strange that a car that nice can be packed for 4 months in that place. You get it? Then it was a Spacio, but it was an old number plate. So for me, in a way, it did not make sense. Why? So it can point to two things: that either it doesn't have a resale, people don't really like